Hey Jordan,
Andrew, hello. It's
it's been a while.
yeah, it's good to see you, man. We haven't been able to catch up in years, decades, maybe even millennium.
I'm starting to
Feels
think we
like it.
never knew each other at all in the first place.
No, this is an initial meeting.
Yeah.
You look great, man. You know?
Hey, I'm doing great. I am, back in Wisconsin. For those that have, followed my moves around the country and different things I've done, I'm living in Wisconsin and loving being cold all the time. So that's really what's up with me. And I would say thriving. I think it's fair to say I'm thriving.
Yeah, you're wearing a hoodie, which is my
Mm-hmm.
favorite kind of weather, is hoodie weather, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just really gotten to that in Los Angeles, like, and it's November, so that's maybe one downside of not being cold all the time, is I don't get to wear the 400 hoodies that I brought with me 6 years ago that just hang in my closet for
Yeah. Yeah.
most of the year. But yeah, I've also moved into a new place in Santa Monica. Moved in with the girlfriend. Big adult things,
Mm-hmm.
and sitting in a guest room. Haven't had a guest room since I've lived out here.
No, I mean
Just
that's
had.
in LA. That's like essentially saying that you own two homes.
I'll tell you what. I'm mingling with the celebrities now, is what
Yeah.
this means,
Right.
and
Yeah, you can have guests.
yeah, I can have guests. I can when I go out, I can say yes, I do have a guest room. They'll let you in anywhere at that point. So,
Yeah, right.
um,
All the
so yeah,
best places in town are like, what's your guest room situation? And then
yeah,
also, how many podcasts have you recorded in your guest room? Because that's the other thing
yes.
everybody in LA is using their guest room for is getting a podcast started.
And honestly, that's probably not a joke in any way. That's actually
Not at
probably
all. No,
a
that's what's
hundred
up.
percent. If you just like took a drone
Mm-hmm.
around the LA area today,
Yeah.
popping in different windows, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people at their guest room desk recording podcasts.
Right.
So happy to be a part of that group.
I mean, it's a burgeoning. From what I understand, it's an area of the media that's expanding, and so they couldn't keep us away, right? Like we did this for a while, and then we didn't do it for a while, and now we're back, and it feels great to be back, telling people what we think about the Browns and sports in general, and each other's backgrounds, and updating people on where we've moved to. So I mean, I'm just thrilled.
Yeah, same. It's funny. No matter how bad of a Brown season it is, I still find myself being like, I have thoughts. I'd like to express some
Yeah, it's weird,
thoughts,
right?
and not having a medium to do that all season this year has just kind of I've just been sort of violently shaking on my couch. So yeah, man,
Right.
it's good for us. I'm happy to be able to link back up with you and yeah, get some feelings out because I think we have a lot of feelings about, or maybe we don't. Maybe we're dead inside, but. I don't
It's
know.
I think my feelings are less, I mean, just to jump right into it.
Yeah.
I feel like what's going on with the team is pretty well worn territory at this point. Like the Deshaun Watson trade wrecked the franchise on like a 5 year timeline,
Hmm.
and they're just dealing with the outcome of that, the fallout. That's the word. They're dealing with the fallout. So I'm comfortable with that part of it. What's really surprising to me is like the I think preseason where folks' expectations were for what this was going to look like, and then how disappointed and kind of really unhappy people have gotten as soon as it became kind of clear that like things were not going to get better, and like in fact they're probably just going to keep getting bad.
Yeah, I agree with you. Obviously, like the core root of where the Browns are is well worn by this point. But don't worry, Andrew. They might be opening his practice window sometime in the near future.
That's
So get
happening.
excited.
That
Get
that is
excited for
absolutely
that.
happening. And I
Yeah.
just I mean, listen, is most of why I wanted to come back and do this to take a few victory laps? Absolutely. Did
Yeah.
I insist in January when the season ended that he was absolutely going to be playing this year? I did. So, whatever. That's fine.
Yeah, that one's gonna feel like rock bottom when they're 2-9 and
Mm-hmm.
you see the tweet from Mary Kay or whoever that the Browns have officially opened that the practice window for Deshaun Watson. That one's gonna feel like rock bottom if we're not there already. I think where I'm most surprised, and surprised, I say surprised with no positive connotations whatsoever. This is negative. Is just by there's obviously a lack of talent on the offensive side of the ball, specifically at the wide receiver position. It's maybe as bad as it's ever been, that I can remember. You and I texted about this the other week. We were trying to think of like when the last time the Browns had a legitimate, impactful number one wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I were throwing out names like Kevin Johnson and Braylon Edwards. So it's
Yeah.
been a really
I
long
mean,
time.
we did both forget about Josh Gordon, and we admit that.
We
We
did.
own that.
That's fair.
We own that.
That's,
Yeah,
we own that. Although he's such a speck of dust
that's
in
right.
time
Yeah,
that
yeah.
it's hard. And I don't think at the time that you would hope that Odell would have been that, and it did not work out
No,
in that way.
no, quite the opposite.
Um, but even despite their lack of talent, I am sort of shocked by how inept the offense is, and I just like it's not an NFL level offense in any
Mm-hmm.
way, shape, or form. And I think to me, as someone who has been a pretty staunch Kevin Stefanski defender
Yeah.
for the time that he's been here, I have that has been the biggest thing to me, Andrew, is like watching that offense unable to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell me about the wide receivers, and that's all fine and good. They still, Quinshawn Judkins has looked awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Harold Fannin looks like a piece. Um, they have some things that they can use and do, and watching them try to generate positive offense is embarrassing. And it's not only like the actual play calls themselves; it's just the attention to detail stuff. It's blocking schemes. It's receivers knowing where they are in a route. It's miscommunications. I think like I'm a I'm a bit at a loss on how to sort of be like, this is a coach you keep going forward. And to me, that's sort of like crazy to say, because even like last year, I was still pretty firmly in like, yeah, this is the dude you want to continue to lead the franchise. So I don't know where you net out on like biggest surprise, but
Mm-hmm.
like that to me has been pretty jarring.
I think my biggest surprise is that I thought that the plan, to the extent that I understood that they had a plan, was that they wanted to bring back 2023, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
top five defense. Joe Flacco is doing kind of what he does, and that brings their offense into like league average territory. And that plus a really good defense, and maybe they get some luck, gets them like in the edge of playoff contention. Like that was, I think, the story preseason about why we would even consider watching their football games. What I'm surprised about is that it took them 4 games to be like, nope, not interested. And it just makes me wonder if they really if they really wanted to do that at all in the first place, right? And it feels to me very much like the biggest, I think, criticism that you can level at both Stefanski and Barry, the organization as a whole, is that their plans are incoherent. Like, so people will say what's happening, like with the quarterback room. I mean, you mentioned the wide receiver room. Obviously, the quarterback room is the least talented that we've seen in a generation. Even worse, I think I would argue, than last year, right? Um, and obviously trading your starting quarterback, the one veteran quarterback on your roster, to a division rival like 5 weeks into the season is just such a clear signal that you don't care about winning football games, right? So okay, so great. But then why did they have the plan that they had in the draft and the offseason? They signed Malik Collins to a decent free agent contract.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a need that you have if you're a team that's trying to win as few games as possible. Jawan Briggs was on the roster. He's playing good snaps in New York now. Like, I know the backup defensive tackle is kind of minutia, but I think what I'm trying to point to is, what was the plan there? To sign Malik Collins and then trade Jawan Briggs for a late draft pick, which is what he was. How are you, if you're talking about a youth movement, how does that get you to where you want to go? And then you look at the draft. Drafting a defensive tackle top five when you've got a chance to add a wide receiver like McMillan, or a left tackle like Membu, like those players are those are building block players that'll be around for, you hope, a decade. Mason Graham, solid player, not the sort of player where you would say, okay, we're rebuilding. It's more like, let's build this defensive line into some face melting unit, and then that'll help us compete, right? Same thing with drafting Judkins. As good of a player as he is, when you draft a running back at the top of round 2, it's kind of, or Schlesinger. All of those guys, to me, it's about like trying to get back to that 23 Stefanski offense. So that felt like a plan. I didn't think it was a good plan, but it felt like where they were going. And then they bailed on that plan after 4 weeks. So I don't understand why, and they knew how bad the schedule was for them over those first 4 weeks. It was a really rough schedule. I think everybody would have been surprised if they had come out 2-2 from those first four. So I just that's the surprise for me is it seemed like even if it was a bad plan, you had a plan, and then you jump ship very quickly, and because you trade Flacco, there's nowhere to go here in terms of righting the ship, giving some stability, giving the team some easy wins. If the defense isn't going to carry you to 30 points like they did against Miami, football games.
No, you are not. And I think to your point, so many of their decisions make sense in a vacuum, but but the overall plan then of these moves that they make, like, okay, you trade out of the number two pick, or and fine, you looks like, yeah, like to your point, maybe you hit on some guys, maybe they're not the guys that made sense for the sort of like full on rebuild that you're looking at, but
Right.
so it's like, okay, well, that's a win. Travis Hunter has, when he has played, he's had very few flashes. He's had some. Now he's probably on the IR the rest of the season. So like, okay, you feel good about like, yeah, moving out of that, and that's probably not a player when you have so many needs that makes sense for you to take. But then, exactly to your point, it's like, so then you take a Mason Graham, you take some guys that, yeah, you think are going to be a part of your future, but are not sort of these premium positions that you absolutely need to fill. I think like the Flacco thing is like, okay, fine, somebody offered you actual draft value for Joe Flacco, you take that. At the same time, then why did we even bother with the whole thing to begin
Right.
with? And then that also leads me, I think, to the question of the quarterback thing, which is like, again, in a vacuum, trying to find a couple guys in the draft, if you have this sort of gap year where you're like, we're really focused on 2026, 2027. Let's just take a couple guys, see what they have. To me, I guess that's a fine way of thinking. But like, I get very tired of like, there is no ill will or personal anything towards Dylan Gabriel. This is just like everybody knew what he was.
Yeah.
Everybody didn't understand why you took him in the third round. And he's maybe worse than what I thought he would be. And to be fair to him, he is not in an advantageous position where he has any real talent or semblance of an offense around him. But at the same time, like, I've never seen so many people just as a consensus be like, no, I think we've seen, I think we like,
Oh yeah.
this is what he is.
Yeah.
And that's somebody you decided that you wanted to take, not only like take a third round pick with, but like genuinely be like, we're going to give this guy starter snaps because we think maybe he has potential to be an answer for us. And then like with the Shador thing, it's sort of like at this point, it's such an unknown and a just like what's going on. It looks like I saw today he's still idle with that back injury. So it's like, are they going to go a full season without even playing him? And then it's just like, well, then what was the point of that? So to
Mm.
me, it's like some of these things in a vacuum, they make sense. The execution of a bigger overall plan,
Yeah.
to your point, is a swing and a miss. And it doesn't matter how many, I feel like the Guardians do this sometimes too, where it's like, yeah, sure, like trading these players in a vacuum makes sense. One is probably going to leave in free agency. The other, you're trading him at the top of his value, and he's probably never going to be that good again. I think like you saw that, even though Andres Gimenez just almost was a game away from winning the World Series, like he
Yeah.
had probably his worst offensive season as a
Oh yeah.
player.
Yeah.
Like, so in a vacuum, these things make sense. It's just like, okay, but then what are you replacing it
Right.
with? What is the overall plan to move forward? You can't just be like, here's a move that we think is good, here's a move, without some sort of through line to get you um, to field a successful football team again. And that is where I think we're probably most aligned here, is that like they are, where do they go from here?
Yeah.
And are they a quarterback away? Are they one good wide receiver away? Are they another good cornerback away? Like, they still have so many places that they need to fill in. Um, and I don't know what their timeline is supposed to be. To your point, with like what they're trying to accomplish on defense, so it's a mess, man. It's a mess.
And I think you talk about, like, I mean, we're the day we're recording this, day of the trade deadline, the Jets have kind of done what you expect a team who had some pieces at the sort of the top of their, careers, that they would trade them away. So they trade Sauce Gardner, they trade Quinnen Williams, and it's like, well, yeah, that makes sense. And so now they're positioned to have just a boatload of draft capital over the next 2 seasons. I think it's, is it 5 first round picks in 2 years now,
I think
which
so.
is, I mean, that's hilarious, right? Like, and obviously it's a difference between having the assets and then cashing in on them. I mean, we know from hard earned experience in Cleveland that there's no guarantee, but I do think it makes sense, right? There's a logic to, well, we're not going to win a championship when Quinnen Williams is on this team. And as much as Miles Garrett is, I mean, just a joy to watch play football, and what he did, in a losing effort 2 weeks ago, 5 sacks in a game, it's like mind bending that he can do that. But even if you can't get fair value for him, and I understand the cap implications and everything else, they're in a position where the way that they structure their contracts, you can't even trade your best player because he makes your cap situation worse. So they're so they were, I guess I should say, so convinced that they were going to be knocking on the door of multiple championships, and they trade for Deshaun Watson, and they're as all in as any franchise in NFL history has been, I would argue. And they have gotten so little out of that
Yep.
that not only are we talking now about the hangover of that lasting multiple years, but like a routine comment now is Dylan Gabriel looks bad, Kevin Stefanski looks bad, the offense looks terrible, but there's nothing around them. Well, how can that be true when this was originally supposed to be part of your contention window? 2024 and 2025 were the years that the Browns arrived. All of their contracts are structured so that the maximum amount of talent is on the team for last year and this year. And it doesn't feel at all anywhere on the offense that they are a quarterback away. I don't know what I mean, I guess you could argue that Lamar Jackson, with his singular playmaking ability, could make this work. Is there another quarterback that you would even say, if you put them on this roster, this offensive roster, you like their chances to win a playoff game?
Um, Probably not. I mean, like,
Maybe, I mean, Jackson and Allen probably, right?
yeah,
Like
I would
just
say
the
Josh
two
Allen is,
guys that can get 200 yards on their own.
yeah, that can run for their
Right,
lives.
right. That
Yeah,
can
I mean,
survive what it would
yeah,
look
yeah,
like with Cornelius Lucas and Cam Robinson and whoever else, KT
yeah.
Leviston.
I mean, I think like we probably don't. You go back. Obviously, the Deshaun Watson thing is the biggest one, but you think about the Jed Wells pick. Like
Yeah.
there are um, there are things that they between the wide receiver group and the offensive line group. Like their offensive line isn't the ones that were good are aging out of being good,
Yeah.
like Batonio, even Teller to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Conklin like stop playing football, like
Yeah.
like go take care of
He's
yourself
old. Yeah. He's
somewhere.
old. Yeah.
Like he's yeah, you're gonna like it's just
Put him out to
nothing but
pasture.
injuries. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean they're aging out of their good yeah, they're good offensive linemen, and the ones that they've tried to replace at DeJuan Jones and guys that got hurt are just absolutely abysmal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it's very like you think about Miles Garrett and you think about this from a perspective of Miles Garrett and obviously the conversation is there about okay, well he chose this and like yeah, that amount of money, of course he like I don't really truly think like Miles Garrett is sitting there analyzing the roster when that kind of money is in front of him. So like
Right.
it is what it
100%.
is. But like if you're thinking about it from his sort of perspective, like what's his that timeline is I mean, even if you let's say you hit on whatever quarterback you take next season, and now there's so many teams ahead of them that are worse right now
Right.
that's looking like well they're not even going to have their choice of who they want. Um, you look to 2027 when like Jeremiah Smith is going to be there and saying the Ohio State quarterback's going to be there, but like where will they be then? Will they be bad enough to do that? But you just look at like the timeline of some of these guys. Even now, you're looking at like a Grant Delpit, and like you look at Denzel Ward. You look at these guys, and like I mean, there's that timeline feels like it's done
Right.
in a lot of ways. So it's not only like it is very like when we look back at this point of Brown's history, which is I think the most depressing thing, Andrew, is like no matter what the outcome of the Baker Mayfield thing was, and I think I feel fine with how it ended.
Mm-hmm.
That was really the first time in my lifetime, probably in a lot of your lifetime, that like the Browns looked like a competent football team.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And for the Browns to be back at this level of just incompetent offensive
Right.
football, which we have watched for years and years and years. There's a blip there and a blip here, but that stretch of Kevin Stefanski's first couple years, where they look like a genuinely competent, good, disciplined football team. To only have that for that small of a window is pretty shocking. If you go back to us in 2020,
Yeah.
they
Oh,
win
absolutely.
they win a playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
Their offense is this play action. Their quarterback is accurate. They run screens better than. That's the thing, man. It's like
Yeah.
they're still trying to do those things. They just haven't evolved in any way, and the execution is just like what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's tough, man, to be back here because I didn't think we'd be back here, even with the Deshaun trade and how that instantly we were like, this is the biggest swing and miss of all time. You just didn't think it was going to get to this, where they can't. They're running a throwback to one side of the field to try and throw to the other side of the field, and everybody's missing a block, and it looks like something that you saw at recess. Like it just is.
Yeah.
It's jarring, man, for us to be back here this soon, and I think that's really like the tragedy of all of it is like, damn, they found something there for a little bit, and now we're just right back to what the Cleveland Browns have for almost my entire life been, and that's pretty hard, man. It's pretty hard.
And I think it's why, I mean, like, this is maybe jumping a step or two, but it's why I can't be really convinced that they don't need to fire everybody,
Yeah.
because I don't think it can get worse than this. Like, I mean, and you can go back even to the Freddie Kitchens year and look at some of the results that they put on tape, and they were undisciplined, and the offense did not run efficiently, and the play calling was not that inspired. The defense was a mess, and it was a team full of head cases. It was. I'm not defending that by any stretch, but I would rather be in that season than this season.
And at least with Freddie, you knew immediately like this guy's in over his head. This
Right.
was the wrong coaching
Right.
hire. So at least that explained a lot of like the you'd watch the offense and be like, okay, nobody's on the same page. This is like whatever is going on during the week. Like he does not know
Yeah.
how to coach a football team. Like that's not how I like that is not what Kevin Stefanski is, and not who he's been for
I think it is
this
now.
75% of the time. But that's why it's like, how did this happen, man?
Yeah.
Like he's just and now we're doing is this 2 years in a row he's given up play calling to
Right.
another and
Right.
it's just like what is yeah, so that worked out fantastically last season. Like
Right.
it's just like a band-aid on
Yeah.
on a hole that's much, much too big. And I also like this is just an aside, but I'm very a lot of this is such like sources for articles wanting to talk up people they like, but like man, the Tommy Reese like oh, Mike Vrabel's going to take him because he
Right.
loves him.
Right.
Oh man, this guy is going to be the next. And then it's just like, okay, cool. Well, they got him to be their offensive coordinator. That's pretty sick. Looks like Vrabel knows what he's doing in New England. This is cool. And
Mm-hmm.
then it's like, I just like these little things where like they've got the next young, smart offensive mind, and it's like, okay, this is the worst offense I've ever seen. So,
Right. And the other guy that was widely considered the other finalist is Clint Kubiak,
mm-hmm.
who
Who's
truly is coordinating one of the best offenses we've ever seen in
yep,
Seattle with Sam Darnold. And I mean,
Sam freaking Darnold.
Jackson Smith and Jigba is a great player, but it's not like they are replete with talent, and they have
Yep.
offensive line issues as well, but they're working them. I mean, I think you go back to the Minnesota game in London and what Kevin O'Connell was making happen with the offensive line injuries that they had and Carson Wentz. And it's kind of an open and shut case. When you see a, a, a coach with many of the same talent restrictions, and obviously Justin Jefferson is a hell of a player, and they have some more skill position players, but they had identified limitations going up against one of the best defensive lines in the league in Cleveland, and they made it work because they knew exactly how to attack Jim Schwartz's defense. I have not seen a game so far this year, and this includes a game, by the way, against Cincinnati, who Kevin has owned for the
Yeah.
entirety of his 6 years. Week one, everything's fresh. You're ready to. Everybody's healthy. You're ready to go, and they score 16 points against a defense that just got roasted and toasted by the Bears, and it's just like Keystone Copsing their way all over the field. Like there's just so many indicators that whatever, like you said, whatever was going on in 20 and 21 and even 22 with Jacoby Brissett, and
Yep.
then some fun times with Flacco at the backside of 23, whatever magic that was is not still here. It's fully gone, and there's not really, to me, there's not a sense of, like, if you wanted to peg your optimism to something, I don't know what it would be that you would kind of really say, like, this is what we're going to rally around. If you're talking about like a Coach of the Year award that he won 6 years ago, I I I don't know what to say to that because that doesn't feel relevant to what we're seeing week in week out. So where would you where I mean I guess I genuinely want to know what your answer is to that. Where would you say if you were trying to sell somebody on why this will be better? Say we're going to say nobody gets fired, everybody comes back for next year. Why is the Browns offense specifically going to be better?
Yeah, I mean, I there's not a good answer. It's like, what are you? It's yeah, it's pegged on Harold Fannin and Quinshad Judkins, but like
Right.
those are just those are individuals, and
Right.
like I enjoy watching them play football, but as a part of a whole, it has not made much of a difference. Obviously, like they've scored over 17 points once, and that's mostly because of defensive help. So like there is until like if Kevin stayed, like until I see any semblance of that, like he has understands that he needs to evolve his offense in a meaningful way. Because I do think, like Andrew, that I'm not, there are X's and O's guys who can break this down better than I can. But from a bird's eye view, they're largely trying to do the same things,
Right.
but it's been 5-6 years,
Precisely.
and so like what you were doing with your outside zone play action, your 12 personnel that is now on film for 5-6 years, and now with much lesser talent. It almost feels to me like the stubbornness there is just
Mm.
like, well, this offense worked in 2020, so let's keep trying it. And it's the same thing with like now. I don't think I will preface this by saying like I think Deshaun Watson is very bad, and I don't think he's good. But it is a little bit of a thing where you're like, man, did they try to do? Did Kevin have any
Right.
idea how to tailor an
Right.
offense to
Right.
that? I think the answer is definitely no.
Yes. 100%.
I don't think. Yeah. So like it to me, it's like what has happened, and I think the Kevin O'Connell example is a phenomenal one because like he's had to go through. I mean, he's playing Carson Wentz for God's
Mm-hmm.
sakes. Like that man has had to cycle through quarterbacks in the time he's been in Minnesota, and you see a guy who, and Kevin did this for a little bit. You mentioned Jacoby Brissett, like
Yeah.
had some success with Jacoby Brissett, and at some point that innovation or that ability to sort of tailor an offense around some strengths has dissipated, and they have lost it. And whether that's a combination of defenses just being like, we know what your playbook is, we know what the variations of them are. Like, there's nothing you're doing anymore that's interesting or surprising, and I have a feeling that's a big part of it. Or it's just a lack of imagination on their part, and whatever the answer is, like it's not good. And it when I think when things get to that point, it's when you want a new voice.
Yeah.
And I also just have maintained for a very long time that everybody involved in the Deshaun Watson thing, aside from the owner who can't fire himself,
Right.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
um, should have to pay the consequences.
Mm-hmm.
And like fans are paying the consequences of that move because we're watching this slop. Um, and I think like to have no accountability for that paired with these results, I think they would be more than justified in completely overhauling this thing in the offseason. And I don't know if they will, but
Yeah.
I think that's where I'm at. And again, like I just did not think I'd be here, but watching them try to put together competent football has been embarrassing. And you can't, I mean, it's the NFL. Like you can't, this can't be what it is.
Yeah. And I think that's all really well said. I think the biggest thing for me, and I think, you mentioned Mike Vrabel earlier. Look at the difference that he made in New England in terms of a lot of the same players on the roster. A guy like Kayshawn Booty, right?
Shout out Booty.
You gotta. Sometimes you just gotta.
You gotta.
That's a player that's like waiver wire material, essentially,
Yep.
who is now contributing on an offense in a meaningful way. Like they found his role. So much of the NFL ultimately is not about resource allocation in the big, right, cap money and first round picks. It's about, can you find a role for a player that you acquired for essentially nothing?
Yep.
And the Browns have struggled to do that for the entirety of the 6 years. This is where I think the criticism for Stefanski can go all the way back to the beginning, because and especially Andrew Berry, because our old colleague Jake Burns made this point for a long time. Andrew Berry's operating on easy mode because he's got all this extra money and he's got the ability to push this money into the future in a way that other teams wouldn't consider, because they don't want to be in the situation the Browns are in now. And that allows you to make many more mistakes because
Yep.
you can cover them up. The Browns have not developed talent commensurate with being a playoff team, a championship team. They have not. They have rested on their laurels, and they have been satisfied with finding free agents, finding ways to replace players at higher than average cost. And when you start talking about the road back from this, I think that's where you got to start. Because the reason to fire these guys is as much as it's about accountability for the bad decisions, it's about, if they're going to be competitive in the next 2 or 3 years, they're going to have to do it on the cheap, because they don't have cap space. They are not going to be able to bring in free agents, meaningful free agents, for the foreseeable future. You have to be able to develop players on your roster, and you have to be able to develop draft picks, young players. You have to be able to play those players right away and have them contribute, not just be out there getting cardio like an Isaiah Bond, right?
Yeah.
When you look at the raw numbers, even go back to week 1, and Dylan Sampson had 5 or 6 catches, and it's like, oh, that's a
Mm-hmm.
hit.
Yeah.
Well, if you throw somebody the ball 9 times and they catch it 6 times and then fall down, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're like a meaningful NFL player. It just means that they were a warm body at the other end of a pass. And I think finding players that you can actually develop and put something behind, so that even if the team is not going to the playoffs and is not in the position to compete for championships because of the cap problems and the lack of a quarterback and anything else, you can start to build a nucleus of young players around guys that do things the right way and actually deserve that opportunity, rather than an Isaiah Bond who essentially it followed the Deshaun Watson playbook. Get cleared of criminal charges, immediately join the Cleveland Browns, and then fail.
And throw them right into the fight. Like, here you
Right,
go. Here,
right.
these
No
are your
training camp, no
snaps. Yeah,
practice. Yeah, just
crazy.
max targets right away.
Yeah, and I think like the other thing too. I think about. I don't. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think Jerry Jeudy even had a target against New England, or he didn't have a catch. I don't know if he had a target.
I think he had 2 targets, but no catches. Yeah,
no catches. It's just like,
it's wild.
listen, it's wild. Like, Jerry Jeudy is not good. He obviously has dropped some really bad passes, but like, you think about his time with Jameis, and like,
Right.
he's not this awful receiver, and you to not be able to scheme him 3 to 4 catches in a game,
Right.
or even the ability to like be open for a catch
Mm-hmm.
is mind boggling. And so yeah, it all. I think there's too many signs of like this thing is broken
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of ways to not act on it. But there's so much tied up in this. You know, I feel like Haslam is now much too aware of his public image and how bad he's been at the helm. And
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm going to give these two continued time because we messed up with the Deshaun trade, and I know that we're building this new. Now you've got the stadium that's a part of it, and I mean it's just all like all of these things are intertwined. And um, but this is the danger, I think, of both having a year like this and giving sort of guarantees to a staff that like you guys are fine
Right.
because this is the result. Um, and I think like if you're looking closely, it's exposing a lot of things about both the coaching staff and the front office, and whether or not they feel any sort of pressure. It doesn't seem like it.
Right.
And to that end, yeah, that's how you wind up here, and you get and now we get to watch back from the bye. Andrew, let's get excited here. We get to watch Dylan Gabriel take on the Jets, who I'm getting word do not no they don't have any play they do not
Right.
have any players left. Um,
There's going to be
and
local tryouts at Florham Park
and
tomorrow.
it's so funny because it's like, now we're at the point where it's like, okay, lose as many games as possible
Right.
because nothing matters. And the Jets are like, not so fast, Browns.
Right.
We're gonna preempt that by
Yeah.
trading all of our good players, and we are going to try to just be so bad that we can't possibly lose to you. So
Yeah.
um, I said this on Twitter. I said this is I don't think I was this checked out during the 0-16 season,
Mm-hmm.
and I truly mean that. Like
That
that
team
is
was more likable.
not hyperbole. Like this is the most uninterested and frustrated I think I've been with
Yeah.
a team. To the point where like most second halves, I'm not really paying that much attention, and
Oh,
that's
definitely. Yeah.
it's
But
depressing, man. It's super depressing.
without question, what was the name of that Mark Wahlberg movie where he tried out for the Eagles?
I believe Invincible is the
Invincible.
is the
The
title.
Jets are in an
Yes,
invincible situation.
yes. And
That's.
I'm hearing you're driving up,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. You've
I
still
mean,
got some dog left in you, you know.
unquestionably, I have some dog left in me. I also, what I'm kind of hoping is that I'll get on the field long enough to tear an important ligament and get some sort of
Yes,
injury settlement. That's what I'm looking for
absolutely, absolutely.
out of the whole deal. I probably shouldn't have said that publicly, but
Well,
it's all right. It's an
we'll
invincible situation in New York, and I think
yeah,
the Browns absolutely have put themselves in a situation where this game is very losable or winnable for them, I should say, because they have a good enough defense, and the Jets' offense has been just criminally bad.
yeah.
Where now maybe you end up at 5, 6, 7 wins. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen because the Browns' offense is so bad, and also the one thing this front office does seem to get right is tanking. But the defense is good enough that they can win them a few of these games, and there's still pride on that side of the ball. So it puts the Browns in a very awkward position because they have a few of these, Jordan, down the
Yeah.
back half of the year. They play the Raiders as well. They're
Yep.
playing a lot of the teams that they're going to be hoping are behind them in the draft order, and if they win those games, they end up picking seventh, eighth, whatever. And I think the other open question here is if they don't fire people and they are as safe as they're acting like they are, is that even would you even want that front office and coaching staff to be entrusted with a top end first round quarterback?
And then it continues to leave the door open for they take that quarterback and then they get off to a bad start next year, and then you're
Right.
firing a staff,
Yeah.
and this kid
Exactly.
is in a similar, Baker got through that, but like a similar situation to Baker where he was
Right.
getting that season he was a rookie was maybe the most like insane season of all time.
Oh,
So
absolutely. Yeah.
um, I'll
In terms
never
of drama, yeah.
yes, in terms of like losing coaches and stuff going on behind the scenes. So yeah, then it's like, okay, well, you kept him. Nothing has changed, and now you're going to be looking for a coach midseason. I mean, is that what we're going to be doing? So no, and I think like the other thing too is like, yeah, say they win a couple of these games, you don't even feel any sort of, back to our point about what are you optimistic about? It's like, they're going to win a game and Dylan Gabriel is going to be like 12 for 18 for 120
Right.
yards. And you're going to be
Right.
like, okay, great. So there's not even any development that you're
Right.
necessarily excited about. I mean, they are truly in the worst position a team can be in, where, yeah, they could win too many games now, but they're not even interesting. It's just, they're bad, but their defense is good enough to win them a few games, and they're going to be pointless wins, and there's going to be nothing to cling on to. And man, like that's as a franchise of any sport, it's the worst place to be. It truly is the worst place to be.
You've articulated so well why it's taken us to the bye week to sit down and record one of these.
Yeah, yeah. I Andrew, I got up at 6:30 a.m. Pacific to watch that Minnesota game, and
Mm. How did that feel?
I re- I regret it. It didn't feel good. It
Yeah.
didn't feel good. I was very disoriented. I
Yeah.
was like, the sun is rising. I'm not sure what's going on, and all to watch them lose an extremely winnable game. So
Yeah.
that was. I want them to know that I did that for them,
Yeah.
and that was enough. That's my time, I think, for this year. So
I mean, I think that Minnesota game was the kind of
yeah,
the
it
the
was.
crack in the wall for a lot of people because it was so winnable, and you saw the way that another team, both on both sides of the ball, right? Also, what Brian Flores was able to do to kind of adapt throughout the game, and how much Jim Schwartz is allergic to adapting and changing what he does
Yeah,
for anybody ever. It is without question from the owner down. It all starts with him. The most arrogant group of idiots that I've ever seen, and I
yeah,
can't think of a better way to describe them than they're all Tim Robinson characters. The guys that are just stupid as hell and proud to think that they're the smartest guy in the room at the same time. And it really gets old rooting for a team for whom there's that great picture from a decade ago when it was Joe Banner and all those guys in the press box and they're laughing with Haslam.
yep, yep,
That is the energy in that building, and it has been the whole time he's been in charge. And you said earlier you can't fire the owner can't fire himself. Jimmy Haslam should absolutely sell the Browns because we don't deserve what he's doing to this franchise, and I think that extends to the stadium. Quite frankly, like I think there's I mean I'm very curious as the project begins and they break ground and they start construction and things really get going. I'm very curious to see how smoothly it goes because my expectation based on everything else he has done professionally is that he's not going to be very good at it.
yep.
So that's the next frontier of embarrassment for the franchise. Like we've pretty comprehensively described the ways in which they are going to continue to fail on the football field. It's not fun, by the way, for us to do that, but
No,
we're brave truth tellers. I'll say that much. But the next frontier of embarrassment for the Browns is putting together a stadium, on probably over time, over budget, that doesn't end up living up to the expectations of the videos that they released. And until proven otherwise, why would any Browns fan expect that he's going to pull that off?
I don't know. And then, like, you're already seeing, like, reports of what the prices for season tickets are going to be, and people are
And
like,
then there's
"What?"
that part.
And it's
Yeah.
like, what did you? I mean, you thought Jimmy was going to be like, let's go under league average
Yeah.
here.
Community rate.
Um,
We'll get a community
yeah,
rate. It'll be sort of,
yeah,
yeah, it'll be like a co-op model.
yeah. Like, so, hey, why don't you come on down to the airport, grab a Jimmy John's sandwich in our little retail area, and then go see the Browns? It's going to be
Right.
great. Yeah, man.
Right.
It's
6 acres of
I
concrete.
yeah, it's just, it's the worst kind of owner, worst kind. Like, I really don't care that he spends money. People, he spends money. Like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
all rich people for the most part spend money.
Yeah.
He's not good at it, and the Deshaun thing will just go down as just one of the worst things done to a fan base,
Mm-hmm.
of a franchise that felt like it was finally on the rise after a very, very long time. And it's a kick in the face. And now they're going to sell people. Yeah. Now they're going to try to upcharge people on a brand new stadium so you can watch them lose inside instead of outside. So, yeah, man, it's a tough thing, for a team that I think a lot of us have pretty deep, like we've talked about, have pretty deep roots to, through family, through friends, through being people that are have spent time and lived in Cleveland and Ohio, and like, um, yeah, it it feels like we have gone all the way backwards
Yeah.
to where this franchise existed for all of the early 2000s and 2010s, and I mean for
Yeah.
2 decades, and that's not fun. It's not fun to be back there, and I don't, like you said, I think our general point here is like getting out of this is going to be incredibly difficult.
So it actually kind of makes me think of something else. Have you considered rooting for another football team?
Man, I have not, because I just don't. This is the conundrum, right? This is the disease of fandom, where I don't think I have it in me to, like, man, I do not care about the Rams and I do not care about the Chargers. So,
Well,
right,
yeah,
those are the two
you're not in the
teams.
best spot in
No,
terms of
but
adopting a
like,
team.
in terms of like being able to fully invest myself in another team the way I am invested in Cleveland sports, I just don't think I can do it. I
Mm-hmm.
think my alternative would be largely ignoring the rest of the season, which
Right.
I have not really done before, to be
Right.
honest with you. I think even during the 0-16 season, I was watching their final game.
Yep.
Um,
Oh, for sure. Yeah, when
so
Corey Coleman dropped that pass,
when Corey Coleman
we'll
dropped the pass,
remember
and
that
there's
for the
that
rest of our lives.
that picture of Deshaun Kaiser with his arm around him on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
Um, these are moments you don't get anywhere else, Andrew. These are things you can't have images of in your head if you're
But
not
again,
watching.
like that team had pathos or what, however you say that. Like
Yeah,
I love those guys, even though they didn't win a game, because they
yeah,
were trying. They were
yeah,
trying and they were bad. This team is bad, mostly because I don't think they're trying that hard.
yeah. I think that's really well said. And so yeah, I think like I'm going to be pretty checked out in this back
Yeah.
half, and that will be a new experience for me, because I really have not fully checked out on like a half of a Brown season like I feel like I'm about to this year. So that is what it's going to be more than finding other team. It's just going to be taking a step back.
So Jordan's quiet quitting the Browns.
Yeah, I'm quiet
Uh,
quitting.
and I mentioned at the top that I live in Wisconsin now. So I am. I'm just going to say I'm Packers curious, Jordan.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm a little Packers curious.
I'm hearing you're the new podcast host of a Green and Gold podcast, is what, it's what I'm hearing.
No, I can
Um,
only get away with being a podcast host for the Browns, because of the brain drain that
yeah,
occurs, around.
yeah,
No, I mean it's. I think the strongest case I can make for it is that the team is owned by the city.
yep.
And so, like, the biggest problem with the Browns is also the biggest asset for Green Bay. So, I mean, is this going to turn into a Packers podcast? Probably not. Probably not. But
Yeah, but
I
it
think
could.
this is an interesting dimension of this whole thing to me, because what else do you do if you love football and you want to enjoy your Sundays? When we're talking about, as you said, we both said, it's a 5-year window. It's a long road back for this team. I mean, fantasy football only goes so far in my experience, right? Like, I don't know. I think it's really interesting, and it's been interesting even talking to Packers fans here about how it feels to be a Browns fan and what it would be like to root for another team. And I agree with you that I don't think I could ever be as emotionally invested in
Hmm.
another football team the way I am with the Browns. It goes back to like watching football with my father. He watched football with his father. The Browns are a 3-generation thing in my family.
Yep.
But just in terms of like enjoying the rest of the Sundays this year, functionally, like you said, like you're gonna kind of pull back a little bit. I think I'm just gonna kind of see what's on another channel, so to speak.
Yeah, it honestly has taken my joy of like NFL in general. Like
Yep.
I'm watching like less like Sunday night football and Monday night football than I
Yep.
ever have, because I just don't. I'm so just like emotionally removed because of the Browns, that I'm like, damn, I just don't
Mm-hmm.
like. I'm gonna put on like a random NBA game now over that, because at least like the Cavs are fun and I can then enjoy the NBA.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's had a sort of ripple effect there, where I'm watching less football than I used to, and that also sucks, because there was like a time when I'm watching every Sunday night, every Monday
Right.
night, every Thursday night, like
Right.
super into it. And yeah, it really does. It takes the joy away from not only like watching Browns games, but also watching the NFL in general. So it's what you've done to me, Jimmy. You know, this is what you've done to us.
I mean,
So
it seems like it would be a strong area for a class action lawsuit
it does. It
if
really does.
there was any chance of that being
Yeah.
successful. So this is the first episode of question mark. I don't know how often
Yeah.
we're going to do this. I don't know. I mean, look, there was a pretty dark 40 minutes there talking about the Browns. Would we want to do that weekly? It doesn't feel like it, right? So,
Yeah. I mean, it depends. You know, I think like obviously there's still interesting things about. I, as depressing it is, there is still some like interesting things about like how they do try to navigate out of this. And so
sure.
if we feel passionate about that at some point, then you know we can get on the horn and talk about it. I do think like you know we'll probably hit on some Cavs at some point just because like that's a much more enjoyable thing to talk about.
Maybe a little Guardians hot stove action.
Yeah, baby, that stove is going to be as lukewarm as possible, and we are going to be here to cover it. So,
Yeah, we got to make sure that the owner of the Browns or the Guardians is saving as much money as possible.
yeah, we
I'm
do.
worried about him and his checkbook. So
No, I'm worried about is the electricity on in his home? We don't know.
yeah,
We don't
he
know.
seems like he's in a rough shape. So we want
Yeah,
to be nice to him.
yeah, we do.
You know, and I don't know. Are there other Cleveland sports? Could we talk a little college football? You know, who knows
Yeah,
what we could do? We might do something. It's also possible that nothing will come of this, and this will be a single video that lives
yeah,
forever as a sort of monument to just how bad the 2025 Brown season was. That
yeah.
it brought us together to complain about it for 45 minutes.
It did. It'll be a great time capsule. Like remember that Tuesday in November, and
Mm-hmm.
when we did 45 minutes on the Browns, and it'll be like, yeah, I do, and
I
it
do
was
remember
special.
that.
It
Yeah.
was really special. Yeah.
All right, so that's your roadmap for what this looks like, aka there is none, and we have no idea. But Jordan, I have to say that it was great to talk with you again, and I just enjoy even when it is bad, when the
Yeah.
football's bad, I still enjoy chopping it up a little bit. And we didn't do any sort of a gimmick, we didn't do any sort of a ranking, so we'll have to think about that for a future episode as well.
There will be rankings.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll rank the worst Browns moments of 2025,
Oh,
which I think would be good.
oh, maybe
Yeah, no,
that's
it's
a two-parter.
yeah, it's gonna be a 3 hour long episode.
Yeah.
No, I mean it's good to talk about them. Like, and I also think they, you know, don't they may not get the criticism they deserve to hear. Not like they're ever going to hear this, but like in general,
Am I emailing
like
it to the team? Sure. Yes, I am. Yes,
yeah, yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Do I have Jimmy Haslam's Hotmail address? Yeah, I do have that.
Yeah, maybe I do.
Maybe I do. Maybe I'll send it to him. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just like trying to talk about this team in a way that isn't sugarcoated is
Yeah.
important,
Yeah.
and you know, we probably don't get enough of that. So it's nice somebody's got to do it, Andrew. Somebody's got to do it, and we'll carry
Like
that
I
burden.
said, brave truth tellers.
Yeah.
And I think you do raise a really good point that we didn't really get into, which is like the sort of fan perspective overall, and the fact
Mm-hmm.
that it is. I mean, we feel very aligned about what needs to happen, but I would not say that's the case across the fan base.
Yeah.
I think there's also a conversation to be had about the way that the media locally covers this team right now, and how certain members of the beat are pretty much entirely co-opted by the team and are essentially doing propaganda work half the time. So that actually, I think, of the things that interest me about the back half of a lost season, that stuff is higher up there to me than breaking down whatever Dylan Gabriel decides to put on film or whatever happens with Shador, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and you know, just ending on that note, that made me think of Adam Schefter, like yesterday, the day
Oh
before,
yeah,
putting out a
right,
tweet saying that
right.
Browns were going to be buyers at the
Yeah,
trade deadline,
yeah.
and then
They
they
bought a
made
sixth
one.
round pick for Joe Tryon-Shanka and a seventh round pick. Their favorite
Like
trade.
who? If I'm Adam Schefter and I get that text,
Right.
I'm saying, in what way are you going to? I'm asking follow up questions like that.
You're doing the thing that people do on Twitter when somebody posts something. You respond source.
Yeah, source like that's
Yeah,
what an
Andrew Berry.
what an insane thing to put out about a team. Everybody would be like, they're not going to buy anything. What are you talking about? So, yeah, again, it's like people they'll do what they do for scoops and they'll put stuff out, something like that out. And you'll just be like, well, that's insane. And then they don't buy anything. And here we are. They'll probably never hear anything about that tweet again, but it exists. And it was crazy.
Well, this episode has a long tail now because the other thing that makes me think of is that Barry didn't talk to the media over the bye week,
Oh yeah,
which is
yeah.
like a key GM responsibility. And to your point earlier about there's no clear plan, he won't even articulate a plan publicly.
Yeah.
And the one excuse that I saw some people make was, well, maybe he's working on trades. Apparently not.
He is still working on them.
Oh,
Um,
is
he
this a fax machine situation? Are we back in the?
Yeah, it is. He has an exception they gave him. He forgot about the time change last weekend. He was
Oh,
unsure what
sure.
time it
Okay,
was. Yeah.
gotcha. All right.
So he's
We'll
still
just wait
working
for that
on
trade
that.
to hit the because they're about to trade for Garrett Wilson, is my understanding.
They are. He's already on a plane to Cleveland
Right.
as we speak,
Yeah.
and
Well,
that is
yeah,
well
'cause
sourced.
they
So
play each other. So
that's correct.
yeah,
Thank you,
yeah,
Andrew. That
yeah,
is correct. Yes.
yeah. Okay. Well, like I said, I think there is that pivoting away from the on the field product actually has made me more confident that there's a lot more to talk about with this train wreck of a team and the way that the city relates to them, because that is the part that I find more interesting. All right, so like I said, we'll be in touch. Keep your
Yeah.
ringer on and obviously hit the like and subscribe button. That's mandatory at this point.
You
So,
have to.
yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And then you'll find out at the same time that we do that we ever decide to do this again.
Oh man, that's perfect. Honestly, I don't know what more people would want
Cliffhanger.
from a content house. Like
That's right. Yeah,
this
just
is it. So
total uncertainty. I understand
yeah,
that's good in the content space.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It
All
is.
right, Jordan. As always, a pleasure. I appreciate you taking the time to do this with me, man.
Yeah, man, it's super fun, and we'll be back at some point, but we can't tell you when. But we will probably be back, but maybe not.